What's up? What's up? Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm here with Kevin Ridel, and it's been a minute, man, since I've seen you. Holy crap. What's going on, my man?
That's funny because we were just talking a minute ago. So
I
you're
know,
not
right?
lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am I'm here.
You're
Still
here.
alive and kicking.
Yeah, man, you look great. Like I
Thank
said,
you,
you
man.
know,
So do
looking
you.
great. I'm trying, dude. I'm trying, man. Feeling
You
it.
working out?
No, I should be. I'm doing walks, so I'm
I'm
taking
sorry, I
the time
forgot you're
to.
the interviewer.
I'm trying to go on daily walks, do like 3 mile thing. And that's been going on for the last like 2 months. And I can run upstairs now. It's freaking sweet, dude.
That's
So
awesome. Bear with me,
yeah,
I'm old
dude.
and get confused easy.
Yeah, right.
What are
So
we doing?
so what are we doing now? I guess we're gonna talk and just jump right in. I'd like to do that, and Kevin, talk kind of like reminisce a little bit about when I first met you, and and how I was just unbelievably just amazed at the talent that you are as a singer, because at the time I was probably like 13 years old, and just hitting puberty for the most part. My voice was changing, and always looked up to you just as a singer locally, and just someone that has been in a band that did something huge and successful in the Connecticut scene for sure, with the band Avant Garde, and just all the amazing musicians that were so young at the time and just really stood out as something unique. Hence the name Avant Garde, right? And so maybe we could just talk about a little bit before we talk about Avant Garde. Just my brother introducing you to me, and that was just through, I think it was Marino in South Windsor. I don't know the guy's last name,
Gary
but
Del Moreno?
yeah. So
Awesome. Your brother's name is Gary, by the way, for those tuning in.
yeah. So my brother Gary was introduced to you by Marino, and
I was wondering how I met Gary. I was thinking about that the other day.
Yeah, and I think you were the one that turned my brother on to Queensrÿche, and it was the song. The song at the time was "Take Hold of the Flame," and we were sitting in Marino's driveway, and I remember clearly that he was just, you got to check this out, right? And Jeff Tate from Queensrÿche, and then when he belts the note, he goes, "Take hold," and then the and just went off. And I'm
my
like,
dad used to
God.
hate that song. When I was living with my parents in high school, still I had two giant Yamaha cabinets and a PA system and like a mic with a digital delay on it, and I used to sing mostly to the metal records, like that one, and I would always do that. Like I was trying to like practice my sustain and the high notes, and my dad would always be like, "Turn that screaming stuff off."
Yeah.
Always that song though. He couldn't stand that song.
Right.
I
love that song too, to this day. That was the first one I heard from Queensrÿche, and Jeff Tate, who I'm trying to, talk to as well and get him on an episode coming up in the future. So I'm hoping for that one.
That would be cool.
But that would be dope, right? Meeting your vocal idol.
Dude, you should reach out to the Fates Warning guys. They're from Connecticut.
Yeah, that's true. Like, yep. They're all local guys for the most part.
They're so nice too. I bet you they would do it.
Yeah, maybe. So Queensrÿche, and then Gary, I think you would come over to the house in South Windsor quite a bit, and you would jump on a 4-track, and we would do just make up on the spot recordings of some songs, and work on harmonies and things like that. So you just show me how you could come up with a song on the spot, literally right then and there. I'm like, how the hell can someone do that? I have to kind of think of a melody, but you were just like boom, boom, boom. You just whip them out, and and it was the wildest thing. I really like that.
Dude, thank you for all that, man. That's so much flattering stuff you just said.
And it was cool. But I never really got a chance to see you perform, do any gigs, unfortunately. The only time I think I came down and saw you play was in Bryn's basement, when you guys used to jam there. And I don't know if it was Mansfield or Stores.
Oh, but,
yes. Yeah. And so it was funny, man, because I show up with my brother. We're hanging out there talking with you guys. And I don't know who was late. It might have been Rivers or something. But you guys didn't end up having practice. And I just remember Justin Fisher, right? Justin was, he was just, he was on his bass, just doing his thing, practicing a riff or whatever. And Bryn's messing around. And my brother and I are like, oh man, I can't wait to hear them play. And you guys, I don't know. I think Rivers didn't show up, or maybe it was Eric, or I don't know. I have no memory other than that. But yeah, that was the closest I came to seeing you play. So
Wow, that's something else, man.
Yeah, so let's maybe
do something about that. I think Ridel High needs to tour.
Nice. So
I'd love to do it with AM radio also, but those guys, 2 of them are in Vegas and the other 2 are down in like Temecula, Marietta. That's like 2 to 3 hours between here and San Diego. I'm in LA.
So when you started with Avant Garde and when you were playing out, there were a couple different shows that you did, and maybe if you could tell kind of just people that are on listening, tell me the start of Avant Garde and how you felt it kind of stood out in the music scene, and then next kind of how it worked into some shows and how those went when you played out.
How it all happened, I could trace this back to Moreno actually also. I wrote this down because I have a bad memory, so I wrote out like a timeline. But I was going to East Catholic High. I was a freshman, and I was on the soccer team, and there's this dude, Moreno. We're buddies. And I went over his house after soccer practice, and he's got this big old drum set in his bedroom. And I'm like, wow, I've never seen a drum set up close. And I was just like, I got to be a part of this somehow. And he's the guy that got me started like wanting to be a musician. And then as far as rock music, my buddy Ba, he showed me like all the metal bands like Dio and AC/DC. Actually, I don't even know if Dio was around back then because it was like the early 80s. All right, so anyways, Moreno, we were playing in a band, just a drummer and a singer. We had some guy, Jim Cox, as our first guitarist. He also went to East Catholic. For whatever reason, he stopped coming around. And so we put out an ad, and then we got this guy, Bob Nordland, who I'm really good buddies with to this day. I actually saw him last year when I went to Connecticut. And he's the one that introduced me to Jeff Beagle. We had a band called Tigers for a hot minute. Actually, I was in a band with Bob, too. And then what happened there? Oh, okay, so I'm jamming with Jeff Beagle. He introduces me to these guys, Glenn and Roger. And then we ended up starting a band with those 2 guys and Bryn called Deliverance. And then we played at, I think it was like the E.O. Smith talent contest or whatever. And I was doing that band, and I was doing another band at my school, Rockville High, which is where I transferred to after East Catholic when my parents were like, well, your grades are kind of bad, so why are we paying for this? So they just put me back in public school. So I was doing 2 bands simultaneously, and I had 2 shows the same night. I went into the Deliverance show at E.O. Smith, and then I went back to Rockville High, and I did Rock Aid. And then I guess that's where Rivers and Justin saw me sing for the first time. Because like a little bit later that year, they were like, hey, you want to come jam with us? We're playing with Bryn now. And I was like, all right, yeah, that's cool. And that's how I ended up meeting those guys. And then we got my brother in. We did a demo first. That band became Avant Garde. If I'm going too fast, slow me down.
You're good, man.
I'm drinking iced coffee right now. I'm all amped up. Mm-hmm. It's my last poison.
Nice.
So yeah, that's how I ended up in Avant Garde, and they were like an hour away from my house. But it was, it was all cool. I had this really cool what year was that thing? 78 Chevy Camaro, metallic blue. Nice. That thing was so dope. So I was like, yeah, I'll drive. I don't care. I'm just rocking out to like Journey or whatever in the car. And then we just rehearse. And I don't know who it was. I feel like it was Rivers. He was always like the business mind guy. He got us like played on WHUS, which was the college radio station at E.O. Smith. I think that was the first time I was ever on radio. And they were playing us. And then from there, I think those guys hooked us up with shows somehow. And that's how we just started playing around.
That's cool. So, all right. So that was kind of the genesis of the band. And then when you started playing out, so kind of looking back, I know you did quite a few demos, right? You did, was it 2 demos that you did in Connecticut first? One at Trod Nozzle Studios? Am I correct with that one? Or was it somewhere else?
All 3 were at Trod Nozzle.
All 3?
We did the blue cassette. That was with me, Justin, Rivers, and Bryn. We were a 4-piece.
Okay.
and we just did 3 tunes. And then I think that was 87 that we did that. And then the following year in 88, we added my brother to the band, Eric, total
Okay.
shredder.
Yeah.
And we did like the purple cassette. Like if you go on YouTube, like people are always like, oh, the blue cassette, the purple cassette.
Yeah.
For what it's hard for me to listen to that stuff because I was just learning out. I was like figuring out how to sing. So
let's jump in
me,
there.
it's like
Learning how to
between-
sing. So learning how to sing. Did you take lessons in Vernon? Is that where it was?
I did. I
Yeah.
can't remember what that place was called, but
Short
the
lady
lady
with
had
curly
this-
hair, right?
yeah, you went there too?
I did too. I did it for a short time. I lasted literally, I think, 3 weeks, and I was just like, I can't, man. I can't do it. And I should have stuck with it, obviously.
I told her I was going to be in a metal band, and she's like, all right, I want you to learn Weekend in New England by Barry Manilow. I'm like,
yeah,
okay. I'm like, how's that going to make me a metal singer?
yeah. Did she do the tongue exercises too? She used to go, you know, these crazy, like weird stretching.
I think that's what made me stop going there.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think the songs that she wanted me to do were like similar. You know, I think Air Supply or something like that. But.
Yeah, you know, when Avant Garde moved to LA and then we became Zoom, Rivers and we started taking vocal lessons together.
No way.
Yeah, with this lady Sue Fank. She actually taught us a lot. She taught me like the proper way to sing. The other lady, I think I was too young. I just wasn't absorbing what she was saying.
Yeah, possibly, right. And I think I was probably like 13 at the time too. So, you know, I wasn't and my voice was changing also as well. So maybe that was part of it. But so because you wrote at such a young age and you're in the studio and recording, how did those sessions go? Were you going in there and you're like, we have like a time frame of, you know, 2 hours that we have to lock in and put all the guitar tracks down. I have to sing all the vocals and then the backups. How did it work for you? What was that process like?
Well, we were paying for it, so we were definitely on a shoestring budget.
Right.
So I think we just went in there and just did our best with the time we had. Because I don't remember like spending a lot of time like singing the same part like 5, 6, 7 times.
Okay.
Like nowadays, it's like if you go in to do like a real record, you know, you do it until it's good.
Right.
But I mean, I've had all kinds of sessions, you know. Good example of that is I was doing vocal session work probably in the mid 2000s. I had a contact over in Japan, and he got me to do this Nintendo video game called Elite Beat Agents, and he had me sing a Hoobastank song and a Good Charlotte song, and I was in there doing the Hoobastank song. It was called like Without a Fight, and each time I was like, all right, that sounded good. And the producer's like, no, do it again. And the dude like worked me for 5 hours on that song. I was like, dude,
that's crazy.
I was like, every take sounded good to me. What's your problem? And my agent was there too. He's like, yeah, I don't know what this guy's deal is. And so we go back with the same producer like the following week and do the Good Charlotte song. And I'm in and out within an hour. I'm like, how does that even happen?
Bizarre. Maybe it was equipment. Maybe something was going wrong where it wasn't recording the vocals.
Yeah,
properly.
or maybe because of I have a very distinct vocal sound.
Yeah, getting the tones.
I think that maybe the Good Charlotte song was more what he was looking for.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So when you come up with melodies and lyrics, so when you do songwriting, and maybe it's changed over the years, or maybe it's the same, but do you start off with a melody first and then write lyrics, or is it the reverse? How does it depend?
I think I usually get like the melody with some lyrics first.
Okay.
And then as I'm working the song out, like say I'm driving and I just start singing something, you know, it's got lyrics and melody together coming out of nowhere. Because I'm usually singing about something that's going on in my life. Most stuff is like true story type stuff.
I love that.
Or metaphors. Like you'll think it's something, but it really is something else.
I love
AM
that.
radio had a lot of that going on where it was all just metaphorical.
That's great.
And then like I'll like come up with the melodies. I'll be like, oh, cool. I think I just wrote the chorus. And then I'll be like, well, while I'm like in this zone, in this frame of mind, it's like maybe I could try and come up with the verse right now. And then I'll do that. And it'll be the same thing. It'll be like maybe one line of a lyric and the melody. and then the same. All right, I got the verse and the chorus. Can I come up with the bridge or the pre-chorus? And I'll just keep going until I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I'll come back to it later and actually sit down and write out like lyrics. Nice. But yeah, I would say the melodies and some lyrics first is the answer.
Yeah, that's interesting. And when I think about songs too, it's usually melodies first, and then I'll come up with lyrics afterwards, or just even filler lyrics with the syllable phrasing of the melody. And then I'm like, I keep that word or something and kind of work it into the song. But that's cool. I love how you.
And then chords are dead last for me. Like once I have the melody and the lyrics, sometimes I'll do the lyrics and then figure out the chords at the same time.
Interesting.
Yeah, nowadays, really cool. I just come up with like the melodies, some lyrics, and then I flesh out all of the lyrics, and then I'll sit down with a guitar once I have all that, and just figure out what the chords are that I think I was hearing.
So you could play multiple instruments then? I know you played bass and obviously vocals first.
Yeah. I mean, I could play guitar. I played guitar in past bands like Lunchbox.
Yeah.
Jicky Seth, which was a short-lived band I had. We were like, it was like 2006. We were rehearsing for a year. My buddy Shocks was like, "Hey, can I come to rehearsal?" He's like, "Wow, this sounds cool. Can I record 2 songs?" So we went in and recorded 2 songs, and we played one show at Spaceland, and then we broke up.
Nice.
All right, we played a show and recorded. We're done.
So when you think back to like Avant Garde in Connecticut, what do you remember most about like the local scene and those basement rehearsals? What stands out?
Oh man, well, we used to rehearse at Bryn's Cellar in the beginning, and then we moved to Justin's shed. Justin's parents had a shed, I think also in stores. And that thing was crazy, man. Because like in the winter, it's like maybe 0 degrees outside, but they had a wood stove, and you're so hot that you could we're like taking our shirts off, and then we're stepping outside with no shirt on because we're so friggin' hot.
And stepping on stage with no shirt on.
Yeah, I distinctly remember one rehearsal where my buddy Ian, me and him showed up early, and we're like, let's play a joke on the guys. And I had Ian like hide in the rafters. And I started talking to the guys about Ian. I was like, so what do you think of my buddy Ian? And they were talking smack on him. And then Ian pops out. He's like, hey, guys.
What's up?
He's like, I've been here. And then we moved to Bazzini's, too, after that. The Manchester Band Room.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I think that was the other place that I tried to get to watch the band play, and I missed it again. And that time you were jamming with a band in the next room. Maybe it was Rizzo or something. And maybe
Rizzo is awesome, man.
Those
super cool.
And you jumped in and you did Detroit Rock City. I remember that clearly. The cover song by Kiss. Yep.
You know the drummer Dave Mariossi. Him and my brother are jamming nowadays.
Yeah, I did. I saw that.
I saw him last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, Dave. So I reconnected with him recently. So
yeah, he's such a good person. I love him.
He's a good dude. So what was it like making the decision to move the band to California and rename it Zoom?
Well,
right?
Me and Bryn were still in Connecticut. Rivers, Justin, and Mike Stanton, who was the guitarist after my brother was out of the band. And I guess he's old friends with those guys. Also, he's from Texas. He's a great guy too, Mike. They went to MI, Musicians Institute in Hollywood. So they were out here first. They had the Avant Garde demo. I guess they were shopping it around. They got a lawyer to get behind the project. And they got some interest too. And they called me and Brent. They're like, dude, you guys got to come out. You know, we have some interest in the band. We have a lawyer. You know, we could get gigs easily. And so we moved out. And then I think, we were actually renting a band room from Mark Zonder from Fates Warning when we first moved here. He's a cool guy. Ridel High actually did a demo session with him like a decade later because he turned his rehearsal studio into a recording studio / rehearsal studio. that was a cool experience because Power Man 5000 was practicing while we were recording. So we're like recording, and they're like, "Oh, let's go listen to Power Man 5000 for a little bit."
Yeah.
And they're jamming out. We had the same business
cool.
manager too.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry, I always sidetrack. I'm so bad like that.
It's all good. It's all good. So you have Zoom, right? You move out there, you do Zoom, you do the demo. The demo was all done in California, right?
We did we had like a spec deal after we all moved out here and changed our name to Zoom. And we were like playing Gazzari's, the Roxy, and the Whiskey a little bit. We were doing the pay to play scene where the promoter like gives you a certain amount of tickets and you have to like sell them to people that are going to go to your show. It sounds really bad. I would never do it in a million years now, but somehow back then we were actually making money off these shows because we would sell like the certain amount of tickets you needed to sell to, I guess, pay the promoter back. And then we would like oversell. So we were like making money that way. It's a really scummy thing, to be honest with you.
Jeez.
But we were young. We were like 19 and we didn't know anything.
And not only that, but I mean, I can imagine there's so many bands to play one place, right? That are just trying to get in to these places.
Yeah.
For it. So
those are the places to play. So you want to play them.
Yep.
I mean, people from record companies were hanging out there.
So Eric obviously didn't move out with you to California. So let's talk.
He was already out of the band. Like
he was already out of the band at that point. And I didn't realize this until recently, but he was kind of like more of the lead guitarist in Avant Garde. Is that right for the most part, or were they kind of just sharing?
I always thought that the guitarists were kind of even Steven.
Even Steven, yeah. So talking a little bit about Eric. I caught up with him a couple years after you moved out, and I was attending MCTC Manchester at the time, and I saw him, in the lobby from time to time, like, hey man, what's up? It's been a minute. So we'd catch up that way, and that's where I started talking to him a little bit more. So how did the band dynamic change after he got into an accident, right? And that
was years later that he got the accident.
Got it. Okay. All right.
I don't know, for whatever reason it just wasn't working out. I think we were different we had like different like creature habits.
Okay.
Avant Garde had a very strict non-drinking policy.
Yeah.
Which, because I was the singer, I was able to probably get away with it. Whereas Eric was a guitar player, he couldn't get away with it. Because they were just like, oh, I could just get another guitarist. But I just don't think they could have like got another vocalist. For whatever reason, there wasn't a lot of vocalists in Connecticut. I was always like playing in like 3-4 bands at the same time. And I thought I was just a pretty like bad singer too. I was like, I don't know why all these bands want me to sing with them. But I guess because I was just the only one.
You didn't realize the talent that you had and how much of a...
I think it upped my stock.
Yeah, sounds like it. My goodness.
Just being the only one that actually wanted to show up and sing.
That's amazing. So what stands out in your memory from those early days chasing it with Zoom? Is there anything that stands out to you? I remember a couple of us were doing really, really bad telemarketing jobs where you have to get up super early. So it's like we get up at like 5 a.m. to do this job, and then we'd have a gig at like midnight. So it's like you're coming home and getting 2 hours of sleep and going back to work. Yeah. But I just don't know how it all came together. We were always playing like packed out shows for some reason. I guess we just really did good at networking or something. So how many shows did you do with the band roughly? Was it like a handful?
I would say about maybe 20 to 30.
So if you get into that point where you're doing that many, I'm sure it didn't take long after you get to that point to really feel like, okay, I'm comfortable. I know what song I'm going to start off the night with and end with, in the right placement for those songs to probably save your voice, I would imagine, right? Because there's certain songs if you do them too early.
Yeah. I think I always used to like kind of burn out towards the end of the set.
Yeah. And how long were those sets typically when you were playing? Were they like
weren't that long? They were only like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like it was at Bridges Cafe in East Windsor when all the bands in Connecticut would come and they
Dude,
would
let me
play
tell you
their-
about Bridges, man.
Yeah.
Even before Avant Garde, I think I was like 15 years old, and I had a band with Roger. I think Bryn was a drummer, and then it was either Glenn or Mike Dion from Rockville High, and we played Bridges. We just did like a cover set, and it was just weird because it's like a bar. Like everyone there is like adults, like fully bearded, like biker type dudes.
Yeah.
And we're just like these kids from like, I don't even think we're in high school, like 8th grade or something, playing like a bar.
It's weird, man. That place was interesting because you'd have to get permission slips from your parents to play there.
That's right.
Remember?
But they didn't have to go with you. You just needed the permission slip.
You just needed the slip. Yeah, I had to do that a number of times, man. So Bridges Cafe, and then there was one other place in Manchester. It was open for a short time. It's like a coffee shop. And I remember you came back from California just to visit. And in
Nature's Cafe.
Yeah, Nature's. Yeah.
We had
Nature's.
2 locations, one in West Hartford and one in Manchester.
Yeah. And I remember you came and you just rocked it. You just crushed it and got together with someone that was playing guitar, I think. And it was really cool.
That was
all right.
fun times.
Yep. So tell me how Zoom kind of evolved into Ridel High and what felt different about the music you were making at that point.
Oh boy, there's a lot of steps in between Zoom and Ridel High. After Zoom, I'm cheating. I'm looking at my timeline here. I went into like a funk metal band called King Size for a couple years, and strangely, we actually were on MTV in Guatemala, and we did like a 1-week tour there. This was in like that band was from like 91 to 92, and we each got to take like a friend or friends to be the road crew. I took Rivers as my guy. And while we were down there, he was like, yeah, when I go back to LA, I'm going to start a band called Weezer. And we were like, dude, that's like the worst name ever. Why would you do that? And the whole trip, we're just making fun of him in that name.
Yeah. Yep.
Like we did like press conference and they're like, so who are your inspirations? And we're like, this band, you don't know them. They're called Weezer because they weren't even a band yet. It was just an idea in his head that he was talking about. And it's just funny. It's like he got the last laugh. He comes back, starts the band, huge rock star, of course. But that's when he first started talking about calling the band that. Was when we were in Guatemala. And so after that funk metal band, all right, because I know you had asked me a question. I'm sidetracking like usual. After that, Eric got in his car accident in '93. I moved back to Connecticut. So I was done with King Size, and I was doing a band called not World Without Sundays, but those guys were in that band. I think we were called Calling the Beautiful, and we didn't do anything. We were just rehearsing in our apartment. And so I moved back to Connecticut after that. I was jamming in a metal band called Torture, and then I had reunited with my buddy Bob from the very beginning, and we were doing a band with his brother Tom called Shiny New Heads. And that was kind of like a cool alternative rock type band. We played a few shows and did a demo. Torture did a demo too, which was cool. And then Rivers comes back to Connecticut to visit, and we hang out one night. I think it was like early '94. And he's like, dude, I just got signed to Geffen Records. He's like, you got to come back out. He's like, I'll introduce you to people. He's like, I know everyone. And I'm like, wow, that sounds awesome. I think I had like a 1-year plane ticket that was about to expire round trip. So I was like, all right, I'm coming back out. And he's like, you come back out and you could stay with me and Carl. He was like the guy that did everything but wasn't in the band. He did like their website, drove them around and this and that. And so I'm staying with Carl and Rivers. Rivers is doing all his Weezer stuff. They're getting the record ready. It's not even on radio yet, so no one knows what's going to happen with it. And while I'm living with them, the single starts to blow up, which is friggin' insane. Because I'm like, dude, you're on the radio. It's crazy.
When you say the single blew up, you're talking about Buddy Holly, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's totally nuts. Actually, no, it was Sweater Song actually first.
Oh yeah, that was the first.
Sweater Song blew up, and then Buddy Holly.
Got it.
And then I think Say It Isn't So was the third single.
Yep.
My arm is in that music video.
Man, it made its debut in the music video. How cool is that?
Yeah, this arm right here.
Yeah. Wow.
These
It's a nice arm.
16-inch pythons.
It's a sexy one. So
you know what's funny is I used to bodybuild, and then I moved out here, and I injected myself in the alternative rock scene, and they're like, no, you gotta like have heroin chic. You gotta be skinny. I was like, well, how am I supposed to do that? I got these big old biceps. So I just rolled ahead with it. There was another guy that was doing that too, Jason Cropper. So it was like the pair of us were in the alternative scene, but we had like the big old biceps going on.
So you had quite a lot going on in between Zoom and then going right into Ridel High.
Yeah, we're still not even to Ridel High yet. So Rivers moved me back out. Mm-hmm. His album blew up, so he's like, listen, we're not going to be doing the roommate thing here because I'm going on tour. And I'm like, yeah, that's totally understandable. And so he had introduced me to everyone. And so Weezer's taken off. I actually moved to the Amherst house where Weezer started off. My buddies Justin and Adam were in Shuffle Puck, another band, and they were operating out of the Amherst house. I started a band called Lunchbox with JC Brandy. It's a lady I met at a party, and she's like, yeah, I play the bass. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I was like, I'm looking for a bass player. And she's like, yeah, I'm also an actress. I was in a Star Trek Next Generation scene where I was Picard's old girlfriend, and we make out. I'm like, you're in the band. Because I'm like a big Trekkie. I'm like, dude, you made out with Picard? I'm like, dude, this is a marriage made in heaven. So me nice. And her started Lunchbox up, just a guitarist and a bass player. And then Rivers actually is like, hey, you guys want to play your first show? I was like, yeah, but we don't have a drummer. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll drum for you. I'm like, okay. So our very first show, we're opening for Weezer and That Dog, another band that was getting popular in LA. And then Rivers was the drummer. It's crazy.
That's wild. I didn't realize he played drums.
Yeah, so. And then Lunchbox played around for a hot minute, like a year maybe.
Yeah.
And then we added this guy, Steve Leroy, as the other guitar player. Lunchbox started out like really like, we were very like looking down at the ground playing. And then towards the end of it, we're like, yeah, we're Lunchbox. And we're just completely mental at that point. And that's when JC's acting career was taken off. So she wasn't around that much. So me and Steve were like, well, what do? We have all this free time. So we kind of started a new band. And we're like, let's start a new band. We didn't have the name yet. I think we were calling ourselves Spoiler, which was also the name of my bowling ball because I was getting a bunch of strikes. We looked around for a drummer, and then a buddy of ours, Marco, got Steve Coulter to come out just to jam and see what it would be like, and we just clicked from the get-go, and that's how Ridel High was born.
Beautiful. That's great. So it was kind of like a power trio, right? And Steve, Kevin, and Steve, right?
Yeah, and we did have a couple guys on the bass because I was just gonna sing. And I was a guitar player in the Lunchbox, so I might have even like played rhythm guitar in Ridel High. But for whatever reason, the bass player thing didn't work out. And our manager at the time, Lisa Cavallo, she's like, "Why don't you try playing bass?" I was like, "All right," and then that's how I ended up on the bass.
Sick. That's so sick. So, and then you had, of course, the music video. How long did that take?
Oh man, that was years. Ridel High, I think, started in 95 out of Lunchbox. And we probably played for like 95, 96, 97. It was like 97. We were just beating ourselves playing shows, not really getting anywhere. And, oh man, I'm going to get this wrong. Steve Coulter tells this story so much better than I. But somehow we hooked up with Joey Cape from Lagwagon because we used to run into him at shows in Santa Barbara. And he's like, dude, I'm just going to sign you guys because, you know, nothing's happening. And so he got us in the studio to do High Scores. It was him and what was the name of the other guy? Ryan, the engineer. It's been so long. I know it's on the album credits.
There you
Sorry,
go.
Ryan. I feel
all
bad
good.
for you.
It's all
I'm
good,
old. I forget things. What do you want?
dude. It's
But
all
we
good,
did
man.
that, and then we still kept playing, and we still never even graduated from that. And Steve Coulter is at just some random wedding sitting next to this guy, Rich Egan. He's like a band manager. He managed Face to Face and some other bands. And Coulter's like, yeah, check out my band. Gives him the High Scores CD. And then within a month, Rich Egan's our manager, and we're signed to A&M Records. It's pretty crazy.
That's crazy. So was it any different as far as, okay, let's go back to rewind to your studio time with Avant Garde and your demos that you did and going into the studio and recording. Now you're here recording, right? So what was that experience like with the songs? What were some songs that stood out in your memory that were hard to do, or multiple takes? What's the song that took the least amount of time? What's a song that took the longest to record?
For Ridel High, that's a tough one. That stuff was kind of easy because we had played so many shows. I mean, that band played about 150 shows. So I was well versed on all those songs. It was like record, bam, like first take, second take. Wasn't really redoing too much. The bass, on the other hand, I played bass for a lot of the stuff, but I mean, Steve Leroy is just leagues better than me as a musician. And he taught me how to play bass in that band too. So just to save time, I was like, dude, why don't you just recut this one part that I, played lousy? So a lot of the Ridel High bass, it's either me or Steve Leroy.
That's cool. That's awesome. That's a fun little.
He also played a lot of tambourine too for some reason.
I was really good with the egg shaker. That was my contribution whenever I played out with my buddy, this guy Jim Langry, lifelong friend, and we do acoustic duo when I was going to Central, and he would he'd play. We do like 500 different covers or more, and so I'd have my egg shaker and I'm like in a tambourine, awesome. And that was my contribution. It was freaking incredible. So okay, all right. So that's recording in the studio. You do tons of shows, so you're already going in studio. You're 1 or 2 takes in and out. So I guess what I'm thinking, just because I'm a singer too, is so did you have to take a lot of time to warm up? Because I find when I record, I don't really warm up, and I should. But how much time?
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. What I mean, my vocal tone in some of those bands was not very sung properly. Mm-hmm. So it's like I almost needed to sing like wrong to get the tone I was looking for. So warming up would have ruined that.
Yeah, you're trying. Yeah, because a lot of times I think when you're in that type of music, and correct me if you think I'm wrong about this, but you almost do sing incorrectly. You're kind of straining to get a rasp on your voice and not
yeah,
sing it,
yeah.
right?
In Lunchbox and Ridel High, I had completely gotten rid of the vibrato. That was the vocal style. Yep. And it's funny too because Ridel High is playing again now, as of like last year. So just to be authentic, I've retrained myself to sing that way instead of how I sing now.
Oh, that's dope. That's so cool. So do you have a lot of shows lined up, or what's happening with that?
We're actually rehearsing, I think on October 5th.
Nice.
We just played a show downtown a few months ago. That was cool. We were going to play with Nerf Herder and Pulsars in Santa Barbara. Unfortunately, Steve Coulter and Marco, our bass player, their houses burned down.
Oh my God!
In the Altadena fires, that just sucked. Oh. And then Justin Fisher, who's also in the band as the other guitarist, he got evacuated. So we shut down for a few months.
Sure.
But now we're kind of back up and running.
All right. Man, that's the thing that I guess happens, right? And
it's bad because Steve Coulter's old Ridel High memorabilia got burned up in the fire.
Oh, that sucks.
Mine actually got killed by water damage because I had like a closet in the guest house we rent that had a hole in the wall, and after some rain, it like molded up the box my Ridel High stuff was in, and it was all trash. I had to throw it out.
Oh man, it's rough. Dude, I'm going to sidetrack for a second. Do you remember you came down to a friend of mine? There's a drummer of our band at the time. I was in a band called an 853, and it was it was probably about the time 94 or so you came back to visit Connecticut. And so you came down in the basement. We were just having a jam or whatever. And then you picked up the bass and you started doing a couple of your own songs. And we worked around you. And you're just like, hey, I have this harmony part. And I sang the high harmony over
That's
you.
cool.
And Matt played drums over it. And we had guitar and everything. It just came into this, I think it was like a 20 or 30-minute jam session of just your tunes that you were working in at the time. It was so dope.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's kind of, go back into, from Ridel High and talking about starting AM radio and the whole thing. So after Ridel High, how did you guys come together? Tell me a little bit about the
AM radio.
Yeah.
So AM radio, wow, that's a crazy one. So there is a bridge. I had a band called Peel, which I'm kind of glad we didn't take off because there's a million other bands called Peel. The trademarking on that would have been a nightmare. But after Ridel High, what happened was we put the record out. They did the spaghetti test. We only had like a couple of tiny tours. We went out with Weezer for 3 dates, and then we went out with this band Fluff for like 4 dates. It was just like a SoCal tour, and then nothing, a whole bunch of nothing. We had a tour lined up with the band Fuel, but then that fell through. We were supposed to open up for Third Eye Blind, but then their single blew up on radio. That fell through, which is cool because AM radio actually ended up touring with Third Eye Blind later. So I got to tell them that story. We were supposed to open up for Alanis Morissette, but her single blew up on radio and she killed all those shows. That's the story of my life, man. It's like, I think AM radio was supposed to be on this show called Heat with Al Pacino. It was like a show that was doing all right. We were scheduled to actually perform live on the show, and they canceled the show. So I was like, come on, dude. Really?
What's going on?
Oh, yeah, dude. Ridel High is like, we were one of the last records on A&M Records before they folded. And then AM Radio was one of the last records on Elektra before they folded. It's like, I feel like the albatross.
Jesus.
I think having me on your Collins Conversations is going to kill your project before it gets going.
So let's back up a second. I'm thinking of it now, and I should have asked it before. So what is one song on your album, the Ridel High album, that I don't know, you feel kind of is your favorite, I guess? Is there one in particular?
Oh, it's a tough call.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, I love Galaxy Girl. It's nowhere even near being the single, but that song, we recorded it many different times, doing many different like versions of it. The one on the record has the cello on it. Actually, Ryan, who was the engineer, who I still can't remember his last name for whatever reason, because it's been so many years, he played the cello on it, and it's so beautiful. I love it. And then in another version of it, Mike P-Tack, he was in the band Carnivore. He produced it, and he has like this open face piano, like Tom Waits style, and he hits the strings with a mallet, and that was beautiful too. I liked what he did with that. But I would say Galaxy Girl is kind of like my favorite Ridel High song. Although Self-Destructive was the single.
Yeah. Can I tell you my favorite?
Look at Me Now.
Look at Me Now. It's almost a new year. I love that.
That's the song that started the band.
Love that song.
I had a 4-track demo of it. Me and Steve Leroy, we snuck some beer into a soda cup, went up on Mulholland, and I just showed him a bunch of demos I had, and he's like, wait, that one right there with the riff. He's like, let's do that and start a band. And that's really what was the catalyst to Ridel High, that song.
That song, man, it just kills. And not only that, but you do the backups. And I always notice that in all your recordings, right? You sing all the melodies and all the vocal parts.
Let me tell you something about AM radio.
Okay.
I didn't have to do all the backups because we had a Bryce Soderbergh in that band.
Nice.
That guy, he's like, it's like having a lead singer in your band. He's awesome. You know, he went on after AM radio, he went on to Lifehouse.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
And
Okay.
he came in when they had that song "You and Me and All the People,"
Yep.
which was like a big song for them.
Oh yeah.
And then he's also a songwriter. He writes great songs. He had his own band, and they started playing his songs in the band too. And
No
they even
shit.
had him. They even let him sing lead on a couple of songs. Yeah, Bryce.
way.
Bryce is awesome. He's like 10 years younger than me. In AM radio, like we were all in our mid 30s, and he was like early 20s.
No kidding.
And I remember my mom. She's like, "You make sure on tour that you look out for Bryce because he's young." And so I remember on tour, I always tried to hang out with him just to kind of keep an eye out for him. Because that's pretty crazy to be like early 20s and being on tour doing what we were doing.
Dude, yeah. And mom is super cool, right? She would go to a lot of your concerts and shows.
My mom is the
Yeah.
best. She's
Yeah.
the best rock mom. We got her into like Ozzy and Metallica and
That's
Sabbath
wild.
and all
I
that
love
stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, my mom, she bought me like a Black Sabbath cassette for Christmas once.
Yep.
The one with Dio on it. It was what album was it? Mob Rules, I think.
Mhm.
That's crazy. Your mom buying you a Sabbath album.
That's dope.
And
Our mom
I
would
think
go.
she went to
yeah.
see Metallica too once.
Really? How cool.
And she's a
Our
metal
mom
mom.
went. Our mom was kind of like that too. We'd take her to Rush shows all the time. My brother would get tickets, and she would go
Dude,
to
I
Rush.
used to love Rush.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw them on the Signals tour and
Ooh,
I think the Grace Under Pressure tour also.
dude, I would have loved that. That's like my favorite album by them is Signals. I love his melodies, his vocal melodies through that whole album. Just in my opinion, it's my top. You know.
I remember when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old, I had a paper route before school, and then I would do the paper route, come home, and I would put on like albums and just sit with the lyrics. And I remember Rush and Iron Maiden and Missing Persons. Those are ones I would just sit and look at the lyrics.
Yep.
Missing
Yeah,
Persons, they're like out of left field. You know, Rush, Iron Maiden, Missing Persons make zero sense together, but
I never even
I
heard
make
of
no
Missing
sense.
Persons. I never
Really?
heard of Missing. No, never heard of
Dude,
them.
they're playing again.
Okay.
Actually, my friend is opening up for them.
Cool. I would definitely be more excited if I knew who the band was. I think. But I had
Do you
no
guys check?
idea.
Dude, walking in LA? Nobody walks in LA.
No.
Only a no
No.
one walks in LA. Destination unknown, mental hopscotch.
Yep. No, I don't know, man. I should know this. I should know this as a DJ too. What the hell? So
I'm sure if you heard it, you go, oh yeah, that song.
So maybe. So Rivers managed AM radio. What was the dynamic like for you personally and professionally? Because you knew each other for, as a lifelong friend, and then it turns into that type of a situation.
Me and Rivers have an interesting relationship. At a certain point, I would say during the Ridel High era, when Weezer started really blowing up, and it's like, I mean, I understand. It's like doing something like that, being in a rock band, you got to be like 100% into doing it. It's like you're doing press, you're doing touring, you're doing recording, you're writing. It's like you have no time for hanging out with your bros. So
Right.
we kind of like drifted apart during that era. And, I get a call once in a while. Hey, I want to hang out. Yeah, that's cool, man. But yeah, during Ridel High, I'm so sorry, man. I sidetracked myself with that story.
No, you're good.
So after Ridel High, I have to tell the Peel story. That's the only way we get to this.
Yeah, sure.
So Steve Coulter, like we were doing nothing. Ridel High had run its course. We're like, all right, what do we do now? Our manager was even like, he was like, yeah, this is kind of over, this Ridel High thing. Steve Coulter had moved on to Czar, another great band. That dude, like, he went on to like a great band out of Ridel High. Those guys were just awesome. They blew up like the LA scene, and they ended up on Hollywood Records, who totally dropped the ball with them. I mean, they should have totally blown up. But we're like, me and Steve Leroy, we're still writing songs, and we're like, all right, we need a drummer. So we get this guy Joe Higgins, and he's just friggin' awesome. He's just like right on the money, solid drummer, way different than Steve Coulter, because Steve Coulter was a really spicy Keith Moon kind of drummer, and Joe is just like, he's like a Charlie Watts guy where he's just like in the pocket, like just insanely in the pocket.
Yeah.
And so we're doing Ridel High with Joe. And then we're like, you know what? We're writing these new songs. We kind of got more of like a Britpop type vibe than whatever Ridel High was. So we're like, we really need to change the name of the band. And I think we just pulled Peel out of a hat.
Yep.
And so Rich Egan, the manager for Ridel High, him and Trevor Keith from the band Face to Face, they're like, listen, you guys got these tunes. We're just going to do an imprint deal with Beyond Music, and we'll get you in the studio and you'll do a record for Peel. So like we were only a band for like a little bit, and we were in the studio all of a sudden recording a full record. And that record, my dad died about that same time, so a lot of this stuff is personally about him.
No kidding. Okay.
And I'm in love with the Peel record. Because it's so personal what the songs are, and they mean so much to me.
Sure.
And that record never saw the light of day. Like, I don't know what happened at the end of that. There was some like infighting or something between management and the label. I don't think the label really cared too much. Somehow we delivered the record to them, and they're like, "All right, cool, see you later. We're putting it in the vault. We're not putting it out." I'm like, "All right, cool, thanks." And so Peel was just like, all right, what do we do? We're just playing the songs around town. And that's when I hooked up with Matt Fuller, who also ended up in AM radio and is currently in Ridel High right now with me. That's another story for another day because I'm completely sidetracking.
So okay. All right. So
here's where I bridge to Ridel High.
Yeah,
go
for
AM radio.
AM radio, yeah.
Rivers calls me completely out of the blue during the Peel era. Mm-hmm. And he's like, dude, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm not really doing anything. I got this band Peel. We're kind of dead in the water. We're just doing club shows. We have a record. That's it. And he's like, drop it. I'm managing you. He's like, my record label said I could bring in a band. He's like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this now.
That's great.
And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, well, what are we doing for a band? He's like, we're going to hold auditions. We'll get you a band. And I'm like, all right, this guy's putting everything behind it. I'm not really doing anything. So I wanted to bring in Joe Higgins and Matt Fuller to that band because they were in Peel with me. And they're awesome. I know they're awesome. I mean, they were the best drummer and guitarist I could even think of to bring in there. And we did the auditions, and I brought Joe in, and Joe ended up in the band, which was awesome because Joe's like my friend. He was in my band. And then we got a couple other guys, total ringers. We got Rowan Robertson. He played on one record with Dio, and Rowan is just phenomenal. We had a session once where he needed to do a slide guitar throughout the whole song. And I was just sitting watching him, and I'm like, me and the engineer were just like, all right, keep that. And we were just letting him just like play slide guitar over the whole song. And just like, we're just picking out stuff he did. And we're like, all right, that's in the song. And then Jason Moore. And coincidentally, they were already friends. And Jason to me was like the Steve Leroy to Ridel High. He's just like this field player. I don't know. He had like a Neil Sean thing where it's like everything he played was just so tasty. He was just a good feel guitar player. I mean, you've probably had guitar players like that where it's like they could play anything, and it feels like they're singing on their guitar.
Yeah, absolutely. The melodies.
That's what Avant Garde was like.
You could identify with
the field guy.
Yep.
And then my brother and Stanton were the rippers. So AM radio was like that. Jason was the feel guy. Rowan was the ripper. And then we had this guy, Danny Dunlop, on bass. Awesome bass player. Unfortunately, he had a commitment to another band. He did a full album with us. Like we just did like a little indie album that we were just like selling at shows. And so we're getting ready to tour with Weezer they were like, all right, Rivers is like, you're going to open up for Weezer. And this is how I'm going to introduce you. You know, you got the album. You're going to be on tour. It's going to be awesome. And Dunlap's like, I don't really want to do it. I got this other band. And so we're a week out from a touring with Weezer, which is huge to us. I mean, we're just playing little rinky-dink club shows. And then all of a sudden we're going to be playing like 5,000 plus venues opening for Weezer. And Pete Yorn, too, who's another awesome guy. He was the other support act. And so we're like, what do we do? And Rivers is like, yeah, if you guys can't get a bass player, you're off the tour. I'm like, oh, great, thanks. So we held this massive bass player audition a week before the tour. And we went through like 20, 30 guys. And I don't know a good bass player from a bad bass player, unless if they're really bad, then I could pick one out. So I kind of let the guys like be the deciding factor. Bryce was in there, and I guess he just wowed the guys. The thing with me, with my bands, is I always like to dress the band. I had a certain image in mind, and I was like, can you take that hat off? It doesn't really go with the image, or that shirt's not really the image we're going for. I just like to have like because I had a vision.
You have a vision.
Whatever band, like Ridel High, Peel, AM Radio, I had a certain vision. I think for AM Radio, we started off like we wanted to have like an old mod vision. Like starting off, we kind of morphed out of that. The more we played and it kind of turned into a different kind of band. But I remember loaning my shirts out of my wardrobe to all the guys. I was like, oh no, you got to wear this shirt. So they're all like wearing my clothes for the photo shoots, which is funny.
Dude, how pissed off were they at you through that whole process? Just like, what are you doing telling me to dress this way? Did they get irritated at you?
One of the guys had an outfit I used to call Reverse Hulk. It was a purple shirt with green pants. Reverse Hulk.
What the heck? I love it. I love it.
He used to wear it on tour too in front of like thousands of people. I was like, dude, you gotta lose Reverse Hulk, bro.
Oh my god. So all right.
He's gonna kill me when he hears this.
I think this is the highlight, man.
He's gonna turn into the Hulk.
So listen, AM Radio, when that album came out and I first heard it, and I first of all, the production on it, like I'm really into production, mixes of music. When I first heard that, I got into that when I moved out to Boston, and I played in the band with Sib Haitian from Boston. He was an awesome mentor and everything, so I learned a lot. But I also learned about
were mentored by the guy from Boston?
Yeah, I played in the band with him for a couple of years.
Dude, that's insane. That band is incredible.
Right. And so it was good because I learned a lot about the music business, but more so about production I was living in a house. It was in it was in Alston, Brighton in Boston. And it was like 9 other people that went to Berkeley. I wasn't one of them. I did not go to Berkeley.
Right.
I was just up there living with musicians. But the other guys all loved production, like mixes and things. And that's when I started listening to things carefully in headphones, listening to things being panned left and right or whatever it was. And what's the point I'm getting to this? So anyways, AM Radio, when I heard the production.
I'm rubbing off on you.
Yeah, the mix and everything. From start to finish, man, banger after banger. In my opinion, Kevin,
thank you so much, man.
That is like I love the work on all those songs. The melodies, everything is just so brilliantly crafted as far as just everything. You could release like any song on that album and smash it. I mean, it was just killer.
Thank you, man. That had AM Radio, even though we were together for just a short time before we did that record, we were rehearsing like almost every night and writing songs and arranging them together like every night. And we were playing a lot of shows. And we got to tour in 2002 with Weezer like all year.
Yeah.
We did like the Dusty West tour with Weezer and Pete Yorn. Pete Yorn's awesome, by the way. That's a story for another day.
Cool.
And he used to get us in trouble on the road too. We used to throw parties backstage. He's like, yeah, go steal Weezer's beer. They won't mind. And we're like, you sure? He's like, oh, yeah. When we do it, and then the tour manager would be like, no, you guys are on suspension.
Seriously.
You're not allowed to bring people backstage anymore. we're like, thanks, Pete. And then
Thanks
we
a
did
lot.
like the summer festivals, like the Enlightenment tour, and then we did the World Cup tour in Japan, which was awesome. And boy,
That's
I
wild.
totally sidetracked again.
So
Howard Benson,
okay, huh?
AM radio, radioactive. Howard
Yeah.
Benson is the magic behind that record.
Okay,
He came in as the producer when we signed to Elektra. Him and Mike Plotnikoff, who engineered it. That guy,
Okay.
he works on a lot of stuff with Howard Benson, and the two of them together, they just work magic. But man, the ideas that Howard had were just, I mean, they were just incredible. He had a vision for that record, and I had a vision too. And then Todd Sullivan, who's another great visionary, he signed Weezer to Geffen way back in the day. He was co-managing the band. Rivers brought him in as an assistant manager.
Okay.
So Todd Sullivan, Howard Benson, those guys, and then plus Rivers like chiming in. I mean, we had a room full of great minds on the project.
yeah.
And
So-
I mean, it could go wrong doing that too, having too many guys in a think tank.
Yeah,
But
too
in
many
this instance,
hands
it's
in
like
the pot. Yeah,
I like the way it came out. I was really
Yeah.
happy with that record.
it was beautiful, and I think the cool thing about it was too, and I'm guessing too that they helped in everybody being involved with it, but and you got to think of how involved they are in the songwriting process and changing lines here or there. How much of an influence did they have for certain parts or melodies or
I'm
breaking
kind
the
of
chorus down?
I'm a stickler on stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Now, on a lot of the songs, Howard had some fantastic like rearrangement ideas that we
Okay.
went with.
Yeah.
There was like maybe one song where I was like, I can't do that. I was like, I just can't. But his ideas were incredible. It's like we had a song, I think "Oh." I think a lot of the arrangement on that was Howard just going, hey, what if you tried like doing this and this? And I was like, dude, that's genius. I'm like, why didn't we think of that?
That's great.
And the one song that I was a stickler on, we didn't even go on the record, so it was like a non-issue, anyways.
Okay. What was the name of that one?
Anytime at all. I think
Anytime
I
at All?
think I was such a stickler on that because it meant a lot to me. That was the only song that me and Steve Leroy wrote together. We were still writing that as a song in Peel. That was intended for Peel. After the Peel album, like if we were gonna do more Peel, that would have been a song.
All right, so you talked about Peel and how much personal meaning it had to you, the lyrics and the meaning behind the songs, obviously with your dad, and also thinking about AM radio. Can you kind of just tell a little bit about your storytelling in your songs, whether it's metaphorically speaking or if it's just direct with some of the lyrics and what you're going through? Like, what's one in particular that stands out?
I would say Hush.
Okay.
It has some like storytelling lyrics, like maybe I should wear a brighter shirt. As ridiculous as that sounds, I distinctly remember the night we were playing Spaceland. We were just kind of starting off, and some dude who thought he was like all that, like at some record label, was like, if you wore a brighter shirt, it would really bring out your face more. I was like, dude, I don't think that's going to make or break anything. I think that's just you kind of like trying to throw your weight around. So I was like, but thanks a lot for the lyric, bro.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, see?
I like to
contributed
do
the
stuff
song,
like that, where it's like if someone says something, I'm like, you know what? I think that's going to be a lyric in one of my songs.
That's interesting. And I love that about you. I think it's cool that you write from personal experience. There's a lot of people that kind of tell
do the
stories.
storytelling.
I love that. That's great. Do you want to share anything from Peel?
I think it's important because I always hear songwriters like, oh, I got writer's block. I'm like, dude, I would die for writer's block. I'm like, songwriting for me is more of a curse than a blessing, especially right now where it's like I'm not doing anything really professionally. And it's like, but still, it's like the song ideas are like coming and coming and coming. It's like, yeah, it's like, all right, cool. I'll record this song idea, which I'm never going to use for anything.
You know what's weird, man, about songs, and I don't know if you feel this way too, but they're just kind of floating up right here, right in space, and you're just pulling these songs that are there ready for you to just grab and just put them out there. You know what I mean? Because
I got this one tune called Lame. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to call it Lame or The Lame. the way I'm singing the chorus, how does it go? This is, it could either be this is lame or this is the lame. And I was like, the lame just really doesn't sound like a natural thing to say. Like, oh, this is the lame. This place is the lame. You would say, oh, this place is lame. Or the situation is lame, which is what the song is about. It's just a bunch of different like scenarios that just turned out to be completely lame.
So,
but the way I'm singing it is that I'm like kind of dragging the L, so it sounds like I'm saying this is the lame, but I'm really saying this is the lame.
Okay.
Like you have to really. I've always kind of looked out for phonetics.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I have like a lyric that makes perfect sense, but it sounds really bad phonetically sung, I will change it to support the phonetics more so than the lyrics, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
The phonetics are more important than the lyrics. Because at the end of the day, you could just write what you wanted to lyrically and sing the phonetic correct thing. And then that'll totally screw people up because they're like, well, wait, the lyrics say this, but it sounds like he's saying this.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, because I am singing something different, but those are the lyrics.
That's wild. That's wild, man. So think about like Peel. Let's think about some of those personal songs to you. So what's a lyric that kind of stands out to you and what you're going through and how you're kind of processing your father's passing? Is there anyone in particular, or is it just themed throughout the whole thing? Or
well, the songs that are really like just like ridiculously about him that you're like, oh yeah, that's about his dad, is The Birthday Present.
Okay.
That one is, I mean, the story itself is so crazy. I was like, this has to be song lyrics. My dad died on his birthday. It's like, I mean, how often does that happen?
Yeah.
But even beyond that, it's like, it was a long distance relationship. My family's in Connecticut. I'm out here in LA. It was to be his 57th birthday. My mom, for whatever reason, was out here vacationing right before his birthday. So I'm hanging out with my mom and I think my sister. And I bought a birthday present for my dad, wrapped it, and I gave it to my mom. I was like, here, can you give it to him when you get back? What it was a parking sign. It says Polish parking only, which is kind of funny. He used to always go on about, I'm the old Polak, and he would refer to himself as the Polak.
Right. No kidding.
And so I was like, oh, I'll get him this parking sign. He could put it where he parks his truck.
Right.
So that's what the birthday present was.
Okay.
So sent it home with my mom wrapped. And now I had a tradition of calling my dad on his birthday. So my plan was to call him on his birthday. And if I had done that, I would have missed him. He would have already been dead. So my mom, she flies home the night before his birthday. And she calls me. That was another tradition is anytime someone like flies, they call the other one and go, hey, I made it home safely.
Right. Yeah.
So my mom calls me. Yeah, the flight was good. I made it home. She's like, by the way, your dad is here. Do you want to talk to him? And I was like, well, I was going to talk to him tomorrow, but I guess why not? So I ended up being able to talk to my dad before he died.
Oh, amazing.
Only because my mom took a vacation and he was like right next to her when she was calling in. So I'm like, what are the chances that all those stars aligned? And I was like, that he never opened his birthday present. I think I went home for the funeral like probably the following week. And the present's sitting there by the fireplace still. I think I visited like for Christmas, either that Christmas or the year after. Present's still there by the fireplace. So all of that story was the lyrics to that song.
Wow, that's amazing. So like, what are some of the lyrics? Can I hear a couple of the lines from?
Yeah, I think it's
the songs.
There were some things that I wanted to say. Sorry, I'm so bad with this.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't do it.
Easier to no. Okay.
Yeah, it tells the story I just told you pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. It's all good. But that's
then
powerful.
Another one is Angel on My Shoulder. And then because I almost got into a couple car accidents, but somehow it didn't happen. I was like, wow. I was like, I must have an angel on my shoulder. I was like, oh wait, there's a song lyric. And then another one was Blindside, which I actually wrote in the studio recording it. And Trevor, he came up with the piano parts in the studio, which I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Leroy, he kind of wasn't really buying that song. And I could see why. All the other ones we had demoed up and we're like, all right, we're going in the studio. That was kind of like, I wrote it in the studio. Trevor's kind of, he kind of threw his hand on it. And Steve was like, I don't know if we need this song on the record.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I really want this song. And I think that was the beginning of the wedge that was coming between me and Steve Leroy. Was the very subtle fighting over that song. Because after Peel, we kind of just went our separate ways and we didn't speak to each other for a while. And that is 100% my fault. I was the one that drove the wedge between us. I even have songs about it too.
No kidding. And
then he died too. And I never got a chance to reconcile with him, which sucks.
Oh, that's too bad. So I guess, when you're thinking about, think about those songs from that album, the lyrics as you're describing, and I can't imagine like how I'm sure you performed them live, and how did that have an impact on you live where you could keep things together and not get choked up? Is that hard or?
Yeah, I remember like when we were first putting it together, I think we had played it for quite a bit before we were playing it live. So like it had already sunk in. And you know what, man? When you lose someone, but they live somewhere else, it doesn't seem real.
Right. It just seems like you're just right because you're not there. So you're not.
But I do remember when we were recording the record, we were staying at the producer's house, and one of the nights, Owen Hart, the wrestler, died. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I was at the studio owner's house, and I'm watching the memorial for Owen Hart, and all the wrestlers are kind of like just telling their stories, and it's just really sad. And I was like, I was already going in there sad because I'm like doing kind of a memorial record to my dad, and then I'm hearing all these guys with their sad stories, and it was just like the whole thing was just, it's like an emotional roller coaster. I already did that record. I see what you did there.
I've
already been there.
Man, I love this. I love this, Kevin, and talking about these things and learning about it, and sharing the journey of music and with you, and I think looking back at songwriting, like I saw this documentary recently, the Billy Joel one, and So It Goes, and the whole thing that I learned about him as a musician is all the same thing all through his life. The songs that he wrote, he was talking about himself and telling the stories about his life, everything pretty much.
Dude, this is going to be a weird way, but I think dinner is hitting my dinner table as we're doing this interview.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, cool, man. Well, I really appreciate.
Anything else we wanted to go over though before?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask a couple more questions. Just
go ahead. Let's try and squeeze them in.
All right, cool. So
I'm feeling the pressure from the house. I live in a tiny guest house, and it's like we're all just right on top of each other. I have a wife and 2 kids. They're 14 and 10, and we're all just kind of. My son is doing great. He's been playing Roblox this entire interview, and he hasn't had any outbursts.
Nice. That's cool. So AM radio, and just thinking about the dynamic for obviously working with Rivers as far as managing the band. So what happened with the management with the band? So how did that stop, I guess?
We had he was still managing the band. We're signed to Elektra. We had recorded the record. We came up with between the band, Rivers, and Elektra, we came up with a marketing plan that me and Rivers, we were going to fly to every radio station, like every alternative radio station in the country. And we were going to just talk about the record. And that's how we were going to introduce it to the public. In addition to touring, we got some song placements. However, Rick Rubin, and I do not fault these guys in any way for this. Because, Rivers' baby is Weezer. that is his thing. You know, he has to make that as his priority. 100% respect that. Rick Rubin and Rivers, they were doing another record together while this is all going on simultaneously. And Rubin's like, listen, dude, you got to stop doing all this business stuff and you got to focus on this record that we're about to record.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, Todd Sullivan was like also managing AM radio. So Rivers at that point was like, listen, dude, I really got to do this. And I was like, dude, do it, man. It's like, you know, Weezer's your thing, man. You have to be 100% doing that, you know. You can't be like straddling this and that. So I was like, with my blessings, I was like, dude, do it, man. Do it. Don't even worry about this thing. I mean, without Rivers, we wouldn't even got the record deal, the touring, the band wouldn't have been put together. So it's like, who am I to question that, you know?
I think just him taking you on the whole journey, right? And just wanting to go back and be like, dude, you got to come out here. And I know some people, and he just was rooting for you so much because he, you know, as he mentions,
so
like, you're
awesome, man.
Yeah.
He really
you know,
is the best.
So I think that was something, you know, I can imagine that, you know, bringing the people that you love so much and sharing music with and creating music with and bringing them up to the same level where you could have them be successful too. You know what I mean?
I mean, he's my friend, my actual friend in real life. So I'm like the whole time thinking, all right, cool. He's literally putting his reputation, everything behind this. I mean, he was like holding hands, I mean, metaphorically, and passing me off to people in the industry. And I'm like, I mean, does he really have to keep doing this? I'm like, do your record, man. It's like, you know, that's your bread and butter right there, man. I mean, you've done enough for me, man. If I can't do it from here, it's like I don't deserve to be put on the map, you know, or it's not my time. I've always thought that maybe God was like, you know what, I really don't want you doing this with your life. But I don't know. Who knows?
Dude, out of respect for you, man, I really appreciate your time and you know, taking the time to jump on here with me and answer a lot of these questions. And you know, I think a lot of them, you know, probably weren't what you're expecting. So I appreciate the candidacy.
No, it's all good, man.
Yeah.
Dude, you know more about me than me on some stuff. So it's cool for me.
Yeah, man. So I'm very grateful. And I hope we keep in touch, man, in the future. And I love to hear what you're doing. So, you know, keep me posted on anything that you're putting out there. And you're one of my main influences in singing, period. So,
dude, thank you so much. And you sound great, man. I've been checking out your stuff.
I appreciate you, man. So,
and if you ever want to do a part 2, since I feel like we just kind of got going and the hours are already gone.
Yeah. I know. I had a lot more.
I'm up for it, man. I'm up for it.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it at a later date. All right. And I'd love to jump on with you again.
Once you've replaced Eddie Trunk, we'll do another one.
Eddie, that's hilarious. We'll see, man. We'll see. So, all right, get to dinner, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much. I love you, bro.
Love you too, man. Take care.
All right. Take care, Jim.
See you.